Welcome to another episode of the Elite Investor Show. I'm your host, James, where we interview some of Tampa's top real estate entrepreneurs, investors, and developers. Joined today with my friend Kim Lopater. We go a few years back, and we're going to do something a little bit different on today's show. I'm going to read the bio that's on
Yep.
your law firm's website. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Kim is an associate in the litigation department. Kim primarily practices complex litigation in the areas of insurance brokerage and insurance intermediary matters. Kim's litigation experience includes real estate and probate litigation, insurance coverage, debt collection, breach of contract disputes, and general commercial litigation at both the trial and appellate levels. While in law school, Kim served as a judicial intern with the 6th Judicial Circuit in St. Petersburg and the United States Bankruptcy Court in Tampa, handling mortgage foreclosure and bankruptcy matters. She also participated in Stetson Law's Veterans Law Institute, defending veterans' disability benefit appeals to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Outside of her practice, Kim dedicates her time to professional development and leadership programs, which I've personally spoken at,
Yeah.
including a local real estate investment group and multiple voluntary bar associations. Kim is passionate about providing pro bono service for the Hillsborough County Bar Association Wills for Heroes project and mentorship to prospective and current law students across the state. And Kim has a really great Vizsla dog named Sergeant.
I was very disappointed that he couldn't be here today,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
all right.
I feel like the mustache gave me a lisp when I was reading that. That was weird.
It's a mouthful. It's
Yeah.
definitely a mouthful.
Yeah, judicial. Why do I struggle with the word judicial?
I think it's because it's 6th Judicial Circuit.
Thick,
Saying that all together,
yeah. Okay, cool.
it's a mouth twister.
Cool. So you got a lot of different experience as an attorney.
Yeah.
And you're still like in your law career, you're still like pretty early in that trajectory, right? Which is a pretty interesting, I feel like it's a pretty interesting place to be. So we'll start with like recent matters, I guess, what's relevant. What are you seeing lately in terms of real estate law? Like, are you seeing any trends that are coming up more frequently in terms of like people suing for specific things versus maybe things that we saw more years ago?
Definitely. And I mean, in the specific real estate field, I've only been focusing my practice on this for the last 2 years. So I will disclose that obviously when I'm looking at trends, a lot of that I focus on what I've seen. And I think we've been pretty consistent with construction litigation, taking the lead in lawsuits or even like pre-litigation, so demand letters, that kind of work. But then what I'm noticing, especially in Tampa in the last couple of years, is you have a lot more partnerships and people working towards what they can do to protect themselves, because either they're already in a lawsuit or they, just got a demand letter and they're looking forward to figure out what they can do, which I say is a more recent trend, because I think a lot of investors 2-ish, 3 years ago, when I was first doing lead investor stuff, they were not as risk averse and just kind of did whatever they want. Whereas now it seems like a lot more people are trying to be more cautious and proactive about what they're doing.
Yeah, so people are proactively seeking to protect themselves with like a robust operating agreement, whereas maybe 3 or 4 years ago, people were like, we'll just wing it and not sign an OA.
Yeah, or they would just do like a simple joint venture agreement where you say, I'm putting in this much money and this much sweat equity. We agree that this is how we'll get paid and this is our plan. It would be like 3 bullet points of what they wanted to do. And I'm getting those now, right? As the person who's, someone's like, hey, I have a business deal that went sour and this was my best friend. They won't even answer my calls now. And so now we're looking at those cases and saying, okay, we're not only going to be talking about how we can help in this case, but let's talk moving forward. And people seem to be a lot more receptive to it.
Yeah.
Because they realize the value in taking that extra step.
I would say even I'm in that category. Within the past 12 months, I executed the most robust OA I've ever been part of. I mean, we did it with you. I think you can't share that, but I can.
Yes, you can.
But well, I don't know, was it 54 or 68 pages or something like that? It was like, you guys sent it to me to review. I'm like, is it right? I don't know. Yeah.
And you know what? That's one thing that has been really interesting for me to navigate as someone who's newer into the real estate law field, because what I used to focus my practice on was all commercial litigation and specifically PIP, so like car insurance related matters.
Mhm.
And most of my work was negotiation, settlement, and client expectation management, and seeing how those kind of skills can translate into this, where I'm sending someone a very important and valuable 51-page operating agreement, but you know just as well as I do, you're like, I'm not going to read this whole thing. Let's just tell me what it is. Give me the, ChatGPT version of this, right?
Yeah.
Learning how to navigate that to still show my clients or even prospective clients there's value in this. And I promise it's worth you at least trying to read some of the 51 pages.
Yeah, I don't want to steer too off topic, but it kind of reminds me of something I've heard when it comes to a prenup. And some people might be like, well, if you're going into a marriage and getting a prenup, then you already think it's going to fail. And how I've heard it alternatively described is, if anything were to ever happen, someone's going to choose how it's going to be done.
Exactly.
It's either going to be the state or it's going to be you. And it's probably better if it's you. And it's kind of similar with an OA, right? Like in the event, you may not have a business divorce, but in the event that there is one, do you want it to be left up in the air?
Yep.
Or do you guys want to decide beforehand how that is going to be?
Yeah, exactly. And that applies to so many other contracts that I do. It's not just the operating agreement. It could be a construction or a design contract. There's so many different avenues when we're talking about contracts that it really is, you're trying to anticipate the problems that you can see in the future with the specific, deal that you're doing, the people that you're dealing with. And there's so many different components to it when we're trying to figure out how to best explain to our clients or prospective clients, hey, let's look at your risk and let's see what the best plan is for you, because obviously there's only so much you can predict. But you nailed it. It's, do you want to leave this up to someone who doesn't know your business deal and your business partner, meaning the state and the law? Or do you want to take as much control as you can right now?
Shifting gears a little bit, what is it like being a young attorney in Tampa, Florida? I'll add something to my question. I feel just when I moved down here from Virginia, I never really saw billboards in Virginia for like, were you in a car accident? And driving into Florida, I remember moving, I was towing a trailer. I was like, dude, there are signs at every exit. It's like, were you injured in a truck accident? Were you injured in an Uber accident? Were you involved in a car crash? I was like, what is up with this? And I realized it seems like Florida is a more litigious state.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, why is that? Is it the way the state is? Is it because proportionally we have like, I don't know, more senior citizens in Florida and like that becomes more of a thing? I'm curious. We'll get to both questions, I guess, in a second. What's it like being an attorney here, and why does it seem like Florida is a more litigious state than others?
Sure. So to answer your first question, I love it. I had people telling me when I was applying to law school that I was ridiculous. Attorneys, not just, random friends or parents, because they said it's incredibly stressful. It's demanding. If you think you're working a 9 to 5 or even like an 8 to 6, you're ridiculous. And I just, for whatever reason, I felt pulled to it. And so I followed it. And I love it because I think Tampa is so robust with so many opportunities for attorneys to practice whatever specialty they want. And because we have so many large businesses and corporations in Tampa and so much growth, especially in the last few years.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy because you have so much small business here, but you also have some pretty big players too.
Oh, absolutely.
Got a lot of medical stuff going on, got some finance stuff going on. Yep. So you have like a lot of industries right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially banking and crypto. I know that was one when I was kind of making the transition over to what I do now. There was a lot of conversation about, you were seeing a trend in associates. So my level attorneys, I would say between 2 and 5 years of practice a couple years ago, everyone was leaving their firm because there was so much opportunity for, yes, raises, but also to change your field because of the way that the Tampa market was changing. So I think it's been incredibly rewarding being an attorney here because, and I feel bad saying that in part because I'm a litigation attorney. So for me, I get excited because I get more opportunities to either file lawsuits or handle pre-litigation, which is not the best for people who are dealing with it. But I'm getting to learn so much so quickly very early on in my practice. I just crossed over into my 7th year of practice a couple days ago. So
Congrats.
thank you.
7-year reunion.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to reflect on everything that I've been able to practice. I mean, from reading my bio, you saw everything I've been able to do. It's been phenomenal.
Just because, like, there's just, I'm going to put it really plainly, is that just because here in Florida and in Tampa, there's just like more cases that need attention, and so you can be immersed in that? Okay.
Yep, 100%. And I was going to say, so that kind of answers the second part of your question. Florida is definitely a more litigious state, and I know there's kind of a consensus from what I've heard that it has to do with Florida law, and you have some areas of law that aren't very developed, meaning they're lacking instruction.
Yeah.
Something we talked about in our weekly call last week was how to handle NOIs or memorandums of interest.
I'm dealing with one right now for something that we're under contract on.
Yep. And when you go to look for Florida statute, I mean, one of our associates, she did a full research project for me to get to one of the other members. And we were both appalled at the lack of information and guidance that we had. She's like, it's law firms who maybe wrote an article once 3 years ago. So that's an issue because you don't have law that can guide something where you don't have a contract, right? Like you just discussed. But then I think also the laws that are existing, you have some laws that haven't caught up with the times of either technological advances, the diversity of real estate investing, for example, and a lot of the people who are responsible for developing that law are attorneys who are litigating those cases in trial. And there's so many factors that then weigh into that. Your jury, your judge, your jurisdiction, your opposing counsel, if your client even wants to pursue the case or settle. So, there's so many factors that, like I said, leads us being a litigious state, but we definitely have more litigation than most states.
Yeah, that makes sense. If the law is more of a gray area, it becomes more open to interpretation in those specific areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's, for example, if I have a case where there's a gray area and I have to file suit, so I have, a jury decide what the answer is or what direction we should take, it doesn't just stop there, because maybe you have a good attorney who can explain the law properly or what the law should be to a jury, but then there's your first pool. You're leaving it up to whoever actually made it through, jury selection, which a lot of people don't want to do. And even at that point, that doesn't just establish the law, because you could have a case appealed, and then you have 3 judges who are responsible for analyzing the outcome and deciding, well, what do we want to do with the law? What kind of precedent do we want to set? And even that, if they want to appeal it and go to the Florida Supreme Court, it's just, there's so many, and of course that's so time consuming. So there's so many layers to clarifying and helping us figure out how to problem solve.
So I have a question for you, kind of more from the angle of entrepreneurship. Do you feel like you are in a role where sometimes you look at all these bad cases, or somebody who didn't do damage control earlier enough, where someone didn't do damage control early enough or wasn't proactive enough, and now they're in a really bad situation and probably going to have to go to litigation, or they're going to lose money, or it's just going to be bad for them? Do you feel like you see so much of that it changes your risk calculus, or you're like, real estate investing like feels risky to me, but you kind of have a different optic because you're looking at all the worst of it? Do you feel like that kind of messes with your head a little bit? I feel like it messed with mine.
100%. I mean, I would say probably my biggest challenge is I actively work to not get jaded by the work that I do, because I'm constantly seeing risk that everyone in different areas of real estate investing are doing. And I'm over here, I want to do real estate investing, and I see, what could look like a rock solid contract, and you're still getting sued.
There's nothing in real estate. I've seen this a lot, especially over the last 3 years. People pivoting strategies, and hey, I'm gonna stop flipping, I'm gonna go to development. Hey, I'm gonna stop wholesaling, I'm gonna go to flipping. Hey, I'm gonna stop being an agent. I'm gonna do wholesaling instead. Or just people rotating around strategies with this approach of like, the grass is greener over there. I can get more money, feel more purposeful with less work. And there is no perfect strategy where the grass is indeed greener and it's without risk. There is no risk-free strategy in real estate.
It's so true. And I think, and I don't mean this as a plug for EAMG intentionally or anything, but it is true. It's the biggest thing that has helped me is finding a community that has helped me put my mind in check of remembering, yes, I have a different view of the risk because of my practice as an attorney, but my risk isn't any different than someone else's just because I'm an attorney.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how am I processing even like my emotions or something, or, what do I need to do to make myself feel better, whether it's making sure that I have the right contracts or dealing with the right people. So I would say the only thing that was really like the problem of, or the consequence of me being exposed to so much litigation within real estate is the delay that it's caused, because I am a little more analytical and I want to be more cautious. But otherwise, it hasn't changed my perspective of the value of real estate investing and my interest in it.
I think there's a cost to that though too. I think that's the counterpoint here. I'll make a real simple analogy. The best deals sell fast. And if you're like, hey, I want to craft, I'm not saying this is you, but if someone like this took the approach of, hey, I really want to have all these extra clauses of the contract, and I want a 14-day inspection period, and I want to be able to go and test for mold and do all this before I get this flip. It's like, bro, you're still talking and this already sold.
Yep.
Like, you didn't get the deal. It was a good deal for someone else. And, maybe the person that moves too fast, they're putting themselves at undue risk. But I think that's the counterpoint. We just shot a video the other day, and one of the short videos we made is why I like to invest really, really hyper specifically in geographical areas. And because it allows me these little bumper rails, like you think about bowling, it allows these bumper rails to be established where I can just make decisions really quick.
Yes.
Based on price, based on location, based on condition. And I think, to me, that is a really big risk mitigator. But I think there's some happy medium to where, you go too fast, you don't check some of your assumptions, you're not looking into it enough. Well, now you're skipping too many steps. Right. Or you take too long, you're just never doing anything.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and to that, I would say it's a matter of efficiency, right? So I went from initially thinking, okay, the people who are doing these great deals and are making so much progress and growth in their real estate investing, they're just moving quickly. But like you nailed it, because you were the one who told me, years ago, get specific, identify your market and exactly what you're looking for, instead of just saying, well, maybe I'll do flips or maybe I'll do wholesaling, right? You have to pick your niche and go with it, because otherwise you're setting yourself up for analysis paralysis and you're not going to do anything. And that's not unique to real estate investing. There's so many other decisions, like buying a house or picking the hotel you're going to stay at for a vacation. It's no different. It's a mind game. And to me, exposing yourself to the right people who understand it and being resourceful, that's what gets you out of that analysis paralysis.
Yeah, 100%. I was trying to respond with one thing there. You mentioned, like, you see these people doing these big things. I've been in rooms with 7, 8, 9-figure entrepreneurs, and what I can tell you unequivocally is everybody has problems.
Yeah.
I've been around thousands of entrepreneurs in my career. Everybody has something going on. Whether how much they admit to it or not, everybody has something that's bothering them, some process that's broken, some aspect of their business that's actually losing them money net, something they feel like they need to fix, some area they think they're underperforming. I mean, that list goes on. Everybody has that. Everybody.
Yep. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I think you can also talk to those same people and find some patterns in how they handle.
That's it. Right
every
there.
problem.
Nailed it. Because that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
How are you solving for it?
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to kind of wallow in your sorrows and feel bad for yourself, or you're going to like do something about it. I think the people that get the best result, they're actually acutely aware of what the problem is.
Oh yeah.
Like really, really detail aware of what the problem is. I go to this, it's like this conference thing twice a year, and it's crazy hearing some of the problems. This is just wild to even think about. Some of the problems that are a net negative in some of these businesses. Mm-hmm. Let's say this one issue, a conversion rate on some kind of sales strategy they're doing is causing like a 5% reduction in their business over the last 6 months. I'm looking at some of the numbers and I'm like, that one problem is 5x bigger than my whole business. So like that's a good environment for me to be in, because if nothing else, I mean, there's a lot more than nothing else, but if nothing else, it just inspires me to think bigger.
Definitely.
So.
Definitely. I mean, we've talked about limiting beliefs before and how to tackle those and how to even be aware of those. And I think as an attorney, it's been very interesting because even me moving from one law firm to the next and ending up at the firm that I'm at, something that was so important to me because I was already starting my real estate investing journey. I think at the time I was house hacking.
Mm-hmm.
I asked certain questions about the environment and the people that I was working with. And I asked them about, what their interests are outside of their day-to-day work, or what their business development and marketing goals and plans are, because I knew that the environment that I was in with my law firm and my actual work was going to affect how I handled anything outside, like real estate investing, or, I mean, really anything else. But I love that you said you have to be aware of your environment and the people you're surrounding yourself with and how they handle any hurdles or problems, like literally in execution, but also mindset wise.
Yeah. Nobody's immune to that either. I mean, I consider myself a pretty persistent, pretty capable of dealing with stress.
Yeah.
I can deal with a lot, and it still sometimes gets to me. And I mean, that point alone, after enough years of doing it, seeing myself do it, seeing other people doing it, the point I'm about to make is not to glorify my own path, but I really do think most people are not cut out for the world of starting your own business or buying your own small business and growing it as an entrepreneur. Most people just are not cut out for it. We'll be back to the show in 1 second. On schedule, on budget, and quality service. Those are all 3 critical factors that we look for in any trade that we work with, and they're the reason we like to align with CXR Solutions for anything contracting, plumbing, or mold remediation related. We love working with them, and we want you to be able to work with them too. Check them out in the description below.
I agree. And, I have some friends personally who I know who have tried to pursue running their own businesses, and I feel bad because I can see the passion behind it, but that's not enough. You can be passionate about something, but you have to take action, and you have to be willing to be honest with yourself about how you're planning, preparing, even just approaching a new venture or potentially new client or something, because otherwise you're just sitting there with this like beautiful, sparkly rainbow unicorn idea. And anyone can have those, right? It's what sets you apart from the next person.
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Without realizing at the time, I feel like I was conditioned over the course of my 15-year military career to thrive in this space. And the reason why is because in my role as a leader in those teams, your position is not really to worry about the base plan all that much. You got to delegate that down. You have to empower. Yeah, you should be aware of it. You should know all the supporting plans. You should know the details and stuff. But that's the reason you have a really capable team around you, where you make your money, so to speak, where your value matters the most is your wisdom and judgment when it comes to contingency plans. And that's everything in entrepreneurship. Like, you can have the perfect plan, and then one day you get kicked in the head.
Yep.
And what do you do then?
I was going to say, it's so funny that you bring that up, because I was having a conversation with my partner in the real estate practice yesterday about, kind of what sets certain people apart in our field. And we always look at who is very clearly thinking ahead at least one step, versus who's just living in the present. And, then the book that I was listening to this morning, The Obstacle is the Way, I kind of laughed because he said something about, living in the present, and you have to live in the present. And I took a screenshot. I said, I need to post this on LinkedIn and get some input from people on how do you live in the present, even though as like a real estate investor or business person in general, you have to think ahead. You have to anticipate things moving forward. I feel like that's such a tricky balance. So I think it's funny that you bring that up.
I think it's more challenging for me to just like be in the present, like be here now. I think I should be. I wish I could do that more often and just be content with that.
Yeah.
But I think to be successful and thinking so far 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead into the future of what I'm going to do about certain things, so far it's helped me be successful.
Yep.
It's helped me build what I built the last 6 years.
Yep.
And so it's like, well, how do I decouple those things?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, just because I am that way, I'm not advocating that everyone be that way. It's just my natural element.
Right. No, I'm with you. And it's funny because, my first thought is, no, you have the evidence to support that it benefits you to think ahead. And to me, it boils down to personal preference, right? Like there's no requirement that you have to live in the present to be happy and to be at peace and to be satisfied. That's a personal choice. It's you deciding that you need to live in the present. Sure, there's value to it. I've heard plenty of authors or leaders, at different presentations speak on you have to live in the present and enjoy everything. And that seems to be the pattern. It's live with gratitude, live in the moment, as if you can't experience gratitude or joy if you're living in the future. But to me, I'm like, it's different priorities, it's different preferences. And yeah, you can live in the present if you need to, but that doesn't make me comfortable. I'm like you. I would feel anxious if I just had to like put blinders on to everything, that I had tomorrow and just had to sit here and say, okay, I guess I'll just plan my breakfast and not even think about lunch, right? Like that wouldn't work for me. That's not how my mind works. And so I mildly reject this idea that you have to live in the present to find joy or satisfaction or even peace.
I think they can coexist, but the trait of being forward thinking has very much helped us over the years.
I'm sure there's some psychologist out there who's like, yeah, that's a defense mechanism or whatever. I'm like, that's fine. It's my life. This is how I'm making sure that I can enjoy my life and my day to day.
Yeah. All right. So speaking of your life, what do you think the exciting version of the future is for you? Like, where do you go from here in your law career? Where do you go from here with your real estate and attorney practice?
That's a good question. I like that you're saying it in terms of like what's exciting. So in terms of my law practice, I definitely see myself growing in the area of land use law because it was very interesting. I didn't realize, the feedback I'm getting is that's a very underserved area.
I agree. And I'm doing land use stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the feedback I'm also getting is a lot of people find real estate attorneys who will do the transactional work, so preparing contracts or whatever, but not so much litigation. And so I'm looking to, from kind of an educational standpoint, grow my knowledge in the land use and zoning law areas. But then from a practical skill set standpoint, I'm looking for opportunities where I can develop my litigation skills. And I don't mean just in, a case that I have. I mean, developing communication skills, negotiation, things like that, which can kind of be a segue into, for the real estate investing. I admittedly have been pretty hard on myself with where I'm at in my real estate investing journey.
Like, can I jump in? So when you say you've been hard on yourself, you think you should have achieved a more substantial result than you have to date?
I don't even think I can say achieved. I think I should have taken more action than I have today, I think. But even then, like, I don't regret it. I don't have a problem with how my plan changed. But in the beginning of this year, I think you and I had a one-on-one even, and I was talking about, I want to make like $50,000 through real estate investing, whether it's, buying a house, cosmetic flip, something, and then selling it, whatever. But when I had the new real estate partner join my firm and finally had someone in my office who I could just walk down the hall and ask questions, and just having that resource there, I realized that I was leaving value on the table if I didn't invest in growing my real estate law knowledge. And then business development just kind of came with that. So I'm that perfectionist overachiever who's like, you didn't need to sleep. You shouldn't have gone out to dinner when you could have just found something in the Publix frozen food section. Like, stop making excuses. There's always time. You have to find the time. Don't say you don't have time. You didn't make the time. So that's what I mean when I say I'm hard on myself, because in my mind, I should have taken more action in real estate investing because I don't own anything other than my primary right now.
Yeah, well, good news for you is that we're 1 week away from fourth quarter. So
Nope, it's great. And I see everyone with their wins, their Friday wins in the group, and I just think, I'm like, man, it would have been so nice if I could have posted on that, but I'm exclusively responsible for it. And I will say that I have been talking to EIMG members or other investors since at least May about even like private money lending, just other more like passive investment strategies that didn't require as much time so I could focus on the real estate law. And I was getting some feedback of, listen, 2025 is not like 2024.
correct.
So, yeah. So, don't beat yourself up too much that you're not finding that house that you can buy as your next investment property or, something else. So that has kind of helped temper the pressure I'm putting on myself, but it is also helping me think ahead of what I want to do for 2026 and find that balance between how can I grow my real estate practice in my firm, but then also do what I set out to do in the beginning of this year, which was actually take action and not just learn. Like I really enjoy learning about real estate investing. But I think, like we talked about, you have to take action at some point. Otherwise, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. The more you touch it, the more familiar it becomes. And in my opinion, over enough time, that can produce a better result.
Yep.
I think with most successful investors, this is the part that like social media won't ever show you, but most successful investors are willing to be told no so many times.
Yep.
So many times. I'm closing on a deal on Friday. Right now it's Wednesday. I'm closing on a deal Friday. I think I was told no 9 times. But nobody else was willing to try on the 10th except for me. And again, I'm not trying to like glorify myself here, but there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that produced a result of us buying some land that I'm getting. You wanted to make $50K this year, I'm buying it $50,000 cheaper than market.
Yep.
If I wanted to, I could immediately resell it for about $45,000 or $50,000 more than I bought it for. Yep. And let me explain why I'm able to do that. Because I've established a framework to where I know within a specific area. If you send me some deal in Sefner, I'm not even gonna look. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't look at that. It's not my area. But within a specific area, when someone sends me an opportunity, I know what an opportunity looks like, and that allows me to make decisions of go or no go based on a established set of criteria.
Yep.
And we just run that play.
Yep.
And we just continue to run that play.
Yep. So
I've said this before, but like the best way to get good at doing investment projects is, this is fortunate and unfortunate, is to do investment projects.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's say take that off the table. You can't do that if you don't have the time or the capital, or maybe you need to increase your knowledge, not just you, but anyone. Okay. If you can't be actively doing projects right now, the next best way to get better at doing projects is to be around people who are doing projects. So you're seeing, touching, smelling, feeling, asking questions. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize, wow, you're going to make multi-six figures in this project, but I didn't realize that you had this like really big hiccup that costed you 8 months at the beginning. Wow, never would have thought that. Because people, especially on social media, people will show you exactly what they want you to see of them. And so you don't see kind of the dark, dirty, rough part that's at the beginning.
It's true. And I will say that's one thing that I've had to remind myself of several times, because we could be on a site visit with someone who is, they're building townhomes and they're going to make like 500K profit, something ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, you must have some extreme set of knowledge or skills that you've developed over, 5 to 7 years. And that's why you're able to do something like this, or you're far ahead. And it's really easy to look at someone under my definition of success and just put them under that category and hear, the struggles that they've had, but say, yeah, but you knew how to handle them. Or, you had to like, it was fine. It wasn't a big deal because you're still here. So that's fine. But what you forget is that especially if we're doing a site visit, this isn't, some rookie who just got lucky, right? It wasn't just by chance that they ended up finding success and that the problems were minor hiccups. In the moment, they were probably panicking. Like if you had an 8-month delay on a construction project because of some permitting or zoning issue,
Right.
to me, as an outsider, I could think, oh, well, like, but you know how to handle that because you're a real estate investor. But for you, when you're in the moment, that wasn't a calm situation. And so I think being around more people and hearing like people, real estate investors, and hearing more stories of the struggles that they've had personally instead of, like a one-on-one in-person site visit, for example, versus just social media makes such a difference because I think you'll see that raw, unfiltered feedback that you're looking for that kind of gives you that courage to say, okay, I can do this because I'm not seeing a 15-second blurb of how awesome this project is.
Unquestionably. I'm very grateful and fortunate for the opportunities that we've had. And in that same statement, I would say I've created my own luck. And I didn't inherit some capacity to solve problems. I built that.
Yep.
I built that over time and I continue to build that.
Yep.
And anyone can do that. It's a choice.
Yeah. No, I relate to that so much, specifically in terms of my professional journey, because I mean, my mom went to a teacher's college, that she got her college degree, but it was district teacher's college. My dad went to a small public school in Buffalo, New York. So when I was looking at law school, I had no idea what I was doing. And I was figuring everything out, what felt like the hard way, right? Like I had to rely on talking to people and hoping that I talked to the right person who knew what they were doing. And so when I got into the legal field, I was still relying on other people to tell me if I was doing things correctly, if I was like what success was and what my path should look like. But then I learned some very hard lessons when I realized I'm like, you're a business person. Like I'm just another associate to you or employee to you. I have to take control and figure out what I want for my future. And it's scary because when you don't know what you don't know, right? Whether it's real estate investing, practicing law, figuring out what company you want to work for, you may have this default to ask other people, like, hey, tell me what the right answer is. Tell me what I should be doing, what the perfect route is. But that doesn't necessarily work for everybody. And so kind of even building thicker skin, if that's a way for me to phrase it. It's been because I relied on so many other people to tell me what I was supposed to be doing. And they were judging that based off of either my GPA or my years in practice, or even the fact that I was a woman, which can be unbelievable to people outside of the legal practice, but it's very real. And saying, I know what I want and I can do my own research on my own of what I want my future to look like. I tell all my mentees this. I say, when you're trying to pick a law firm that you want to go to, don't look at just the law firm. Think about the life that you want in 5-10 years. And how is that law firm going to help you get there?
That's good. As we close this session out, I want to do some rankings, 1 through 10, of you ranking the value you think certain things are.
Okay.
So like if you're like 1, would be like, fairly worthless, not really an advocate. 10, mandatory, critical.
Okay.
So I'm gonna come up with a few things here, and we'll just get your candid response to ranking these things. It'll pertain to your field.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
You said 1 was I don't recommend it. 10 was I do.
10 is like you absolutely must do. 1, it's not 1 or 10. There could be a 4. It could be 7, whatever.
Okay.
7's an average answer, so maybe no 7s. All right. Okay. Starting a new partnership and having an attorney do your operating agreement. 1 through 10.
10.
10? Mandatory?
Mandatory.
Okay. All right. Next one. Having an attorney. You've done a few real estate transactions in life. You're not a full-time investor, but having an attorney handle the closing on a residential transaction instead of a title company. And you have a real estate agent as well.
2.
2?
There's value, but this is where like my personal preference when I'm looking at a transaction is let's do a cost benefit analysis. What's the value that an attorney can provide that just a normal title company can't?
Fair enough.
And when you have to pay my hourly rate on top of the closing fees, I'm like, happy to help.
Probably would have said the same thing
too.
Sounds good. Okay. Getting a demand letter and you don't have an attorney on retainer, getting an attorney on retainer, 1 through 10.
You're not gonna like this, but it depends. If
you were right, I didn't like it.
Yeah. And the reason I say it depends is because like generally I would say 10. If you get a demand letter, get an attorney because it's going to be more efficient. It's going to be more helpful. But not every demand letter is coming from a law firm or someone who has a valid claim. And so depending on the circumstances and your knowledge and your experience with demand letters or, just general disputes, I could say that it would be a 6 because you can respond to a demand letter on your own sometimes, but best practice, 10, get an attorney.
Okay. Last one, closing in a trust.
Just closing or creating a trust and then closing?
Oh, the whole thing.
10.
10.
Do not create a trust on your own. Do not create a trust with ChatGPT, please. Because ChatGPT is grabbing, even if you say just in Florida, I hope you're going and checking and making sure that everything is actually just in Florida, because in my experience, it's not. And there are so many intricacies. You need to have an attorney who's qualified, especially because most of your trust and estate attorneys are also, they have like a master's in tax law. And it's like, why would you not give yourself access to that extra value and just try to do it yourself?
So
the risk is too high.
Get professional guidance if you're going to establish a trust. Last one, this is a bonus one. Improving your sales and negotiating skills and how that relates to your day-to-day business.
10.
10.
100%. I just had a call with Lindsay Arco this week.
She's solid. She sat in that same chair.
Yep. Because, I watched her podcast, but because she did one of the quarterly meetups, and after hearing her speak, I said, I want you to talk to my Leadership Academy class with Women Lawyers Group, because so many attorneys underestimate how valuable it is for you to develop your sales skills.
I don't think I've ever met a person, Lindsay is this person. I don't think I've ever met a person that was more capable of having influence while still being very pleasant. Mm-hmm. She's the most pleasant person with an incredible way to influence the conversation or the room. Yeah. It's pretty incredible.
It's the epitome of confidence and self-awareness. When you, and I wish more female attorneys had exposure to people like her, because we're a male-dominated field, and she and I talked about this too, because she's in a male-dominated field. It's so easy to try to emulate what you see, the older generations doing, and just being incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
There's so much competitiveness in our field, but really figuring out who you are, making sure that you're self-aware and you develop your confidence, that's unmatched, because you don't need to be competitive in this field.
Yeah, I think there's different ways to be competitive. I won't claim to speak for your industry, but there's different ways to be competitive. Lindsay is very competitive because of her considerate, fair, but quietly firm approach.
Well, let me caveat that by saying, when I say you don't need to be competitive, it's you don't need to actively go out there and try to compete with people, when your nature and your practice, it inherently does that for you.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm talking to Lindsay, I'm like, you doing it to me? Are you? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's how I feel with you most times when you and I are having conversations, and I'm just like, he's using something either that he's learned from one of the books that he's read. I'm like, that's why I got to go read all these audio books so I can figure out. I'm like, why do you guys think this way and ask these questions?
It's who we are as people. All that we are is the sum of our experiences. So cool. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good time.
Yeah.